South Carolina is third on the list of U.S. states for the pedestrian fatality rate. And as Charleston grows and walkability increases, there are things you need to know about your safety, fault, and legal rights as a pedestrian. That's where the Thumbs Up guys come in. We're joined right now by attorney Brandon Dawson to get all that info. Good morning.
Good morning. Glad to be back.
Great to have you here. This is something you guys see a lot at the Thumbs Up guys as well. Can you talk a little bit about why, it is that Charleston sees this so much?
Yeah, I think South Carolina in general just has a poor infrastructure. Our roads are, some of the last in the nation, and that goes to the sidewalks and the crosswalks and all of these things. And so we've represented multiple people. We've had news stories about, crosswalks and, where there should be lights and there should be crosswalks and they're not, and people are complaining about it. And we're seeing accident after, and really they're preventable. So it's not really an accident, these injuries that continue to occur because the government isn't, doing their part. And then we also, we have a climate where people are out a lot, and so they're out walking a lot, and unfortunately we have a high rate of drinking and driving. So you start to combine all these factors, and then we have a higher increase of people getting hit while trying to cross the street.
So who is at fault if a driver hits a pedestrian while crossing the street?
99% of the time the driver has at least some fault. There are times where if somebody just sprints right in front of you, there's nothing you could do. But if you're in a crosswalk, you're pretty much, you always need to yield if you're a driver. I would say most of the time when there are pedestrians around, if you're driving so fast that you can't stop in time, even if they are kind of in the wrong, they're stepping out, then you also have some fault. We just had a case recently where a little girl around Halloween got hit by a car, and she's banged up. It's a really, really sad situation. It was a younger kid driving, and again, he has to know that there are kids around there. You should be driving so slow in those areas, knowing that somebody could dart out in front of you at any second. And so, that's why I would say that most of the time, there is fault on the driver. So it really goes down to, what percentage of fault is on the driver. So even if you're marked at fault in these situations, those are cases that we will pretty much sign every single time and investigate to figure out if there's something more there. Because a lot of times the cops will just say, hey, they're at fault. And they might have gotten, seriously injured. They're in the back of an ambulance. We never heard their side of the story. Then we started to do some investigation, get some video, talk to some witnesses, and we go, well, yeah, they were going 45 miles an hour in a 25 or in a school zone or something like that. And we go, well, okay, well, clearly they're more at fault than the pedestrian in this situation.
Yeah, and if a pedestrian was hit when they weren't in a crosswalk, are they still eligible for compensation?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yep. Any time if you're hit by a car and you're a pedestrian or a bicyclist, call us. That is a case that we will gladly sign and investigate. Obviously we can't guarantee recovery on them, but I would say more often than not, a lot more often than not, we're able to make a significant recovery to help that individual, because they're usually really injured, unfortunately. You don't have the luxury of airbags and steel doors next to you. It's you versus the car, and you lose that battle every single time. It's the same thing with bicycles, motorcycles. You're going to lose those battles versus a 3,000-pound steel hunk.
If you are a pedestrian and you are hit, what are those steps you should take immediately after?
Yeah, again, most of the time people are seriously injured, so they're right away taken off to the ambulance, and so they're kind of waking up to an officer there saying, hey, you're at fault, and they're going, what? I'm just I'm really really hurt. Call us, let us start investigating immediately. The ability for us to go find video footage, talk to witnesses, every single day that you don't call us, it gets harder and harder for us to find that information. So calling us right away and letting us go investigate that claim on your behalf is the #1 thing you can do, outside of obviously getting all the medical care that you need.
And of course, if you guys ever find yourself in this situation, you know who to call, the Thumbs Up guys. Their website is right there on your screen, inpain.com, or you can call that number. Brandon, thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. One last little piece there. A lot of times they're seriously injured, and so we have a family member calling on behalf. That's another thing where, again, because there's no fee unless we collect on your behalf, it's like, call us. It's absolutely free to give us a call. So, that's usually who ends up calling us first. So sorry to
that's
extend
a great
us
tip
a little bit here, but
Thank you so much.
Of course.